Hey everyone, welcome to the LIBERcast for the 33rd. The number is very telling. I'm having this beautiful bunch of great workers tonight to have another discussion about. We chose to talk about cognitive dissonance in the freedom movement, so it's gonna be a great conversation. A conference happened this weekend on Saturday. It's Shattering the Illusion. If people want to go see there, it's on the One Great Work network, and then Facebook. Am I forgetting something, guys, about it? It's Hitchhiker Guide to Truth on Facebook. James Gordiner is
Joe
one
Murray.
of the hosts of great show, by the way.
Yep, and Joe Murray. Yep, James Cordner and Joe Murray.
Good rap.
So I want to bring up a little something before we start. This is Karen Riley webpage about shadow work, and I encourage you to go look there if you are interested by it, if you have curiosity, or if you already like me into shadow work. It's a awesome course that she offers about it and sharing her experience, so we can I started it. I started to the course, and it's brilliant. Caroline Riley is very she's awesome. Thank you, Caroline, by the way. Again, sharing the word.
Love her Facebook page, by the way. I look at those things every day. I'm inspired every single day. Like, much respect and love to her. We'll talk.
Yep. Awesome.
Yeah.
So God damn it. Again, I have lost it. Sorry about that. So Derek, just tell us a little bit about your work, like quickly, so we can go into the conversation. We'd like you to present your work, so can people, because there's gonna be a lot of French people are gonna stumble upon your work now.
Ah oui, génial, les gars, merci beaucoup. Je vous aime beaucoup. Ça me manque tellement de parler français. C'est incroyable que j'ai une occasion comme ça. Thank you. Grazie mille, really. Derek Bartolacelli. Yes, it's a mouthful. Awaken the Mind is also, that's kind of my moniker for my conscious hip-hop DJ array of conscious tapestries of, it's like a podcast way of, telling truth and expanding awareness and spirituality, if you will. And I just have to mention that my brother Brandon Spencer and I did a wonderful discussion for about 2 hours, delving deep into things that are honestly going to be, beneficial for people to listen to in regards to what we're discussing today regarding cognitive dissonance and like breaking down that ego and you know, living humbly and open-mindedly and realizing that, hey, we don't know it all. There's so much more to life. And if we're living with, you know, some kind of grudge or chip or monkey on our backs and shoulders, then it's going to weigh us down more than a boulder. And your heart is going to weigh much more than a feather. It doesn't matter what kind of weather you want to endeavor. You think you're clever, but never say never, and realize that your spirit is forever and things like that. So take that to treasure in any kind of measure. Thank you. Sorry.
Brendan.
Yeah, my work can be found at seedtruth.com. I've been part of this community for, let's see, 8 to 10 years now, but I've been doing this great work my entire life. I was raised an anarchist. You know, I've been putting out this work all over the place within a skateboard and punk underground community. And then, you know, I was in a band spreading this knowledge in many bands, actually multiple bands. And if you hear my dog in the background, he's a husky, so he likes to talk a lot. And he's a little ornery today, so don't mind him.
So, by the way, you talk about punk. Yesterday I went to a bar in Granby. It's called like that. This city is called Granby, and it was a long time. I've seen a punk rock show, and it was fucking awesome.
That's awesome.
I like the music. You know,
Yeah.
There were some Hoy music and, you know, hardcore punk and things like that. It was awesome.
Right. I'll add a little bit more here that I'm a conference organizer and a public speaker. And I've been doing that for at least 7 to 10 years as well. I am the, you know, founder of Seed, which kind of inspired a bunch of other conferences, but it was inspired by Mark Bassio's conference and, you know, a few other people that were working on that called Free Your Mind. And then also I've been doing presentations for, you know, like I said, 7 to 10 years now. So pretty excited. Lots of good work out there. Check it out. Got some new stuff coming for you guys as well. So really excited to put a few new presentations on the table for everybody. And just as a future announcement, Seed 5 will be going on. It will be next May. So, you know, be looking forward, you know, to getting that out there, and keep your eyes open for the announcements and everything on that.
Nice.
Sweet.
Spencer, Brendan Spencer.
Howdy. Yeah, I would like to throw in that howdy. Like, most people don't think that, you know, you got this black dude's gonna say, you know, howdy, but yeah, I like to catch people off guard. You know, you get to see how they react. But yeah, I'm Brandon Spencer. Just try to put out information about consciousness, truth, how morality, how natural law, how collectivism is a cancer, you know, and how the condition is slavery. And I am just an individual, nothing special about me. I am a normal, you know, individual who struggles, who lives paycheck to paycheck. So, you know, I try to live a simple life and try to plant some seeds, spread this information, and respect my elders, respect the ones who I've learned from, respect the ones who came before me, and honor their legacy with my voice by continue to spread that message and truth, you know, with what I do.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So, I think the subject tonight is gonna be useful for what for what we're doing as grid workers. I think it's gonna be an inside job, if I can use the term.
It's good to flip the script, huh?
Yeah. So I what I wanted to bring about cognitive dissonance, when when you encounter religious people, we're always thinking religious people for theologians and people who are going to the church. Well, essentially, you have all kind of priesthoods and all kind of religions, and all have a very different appearance. Appearance. They look different. Um, as example, you have medical staff, doctors, surgeons, and generalists. Oncologists and things like that. There are all different priesthoods, and and for the people who want to look into that, look into the hospitalers. So you're gonna have a good
That's
overview.
Malta, I mean?
It's an old cult, you know. So
Mhm.
you have all these people roaming around and buzzing around with their white dressing, their
The
white
Puritans.
coats,
Ah,
and all these tools that they're using, and it's very cold, very impersonal. You know, you go there and you're treated like cattle. You know, they don't care. They don't really care. They're gonna experiment on you when I'm, and this is the one thing about cognitive dissonance. It's like you have all these miracles that modern uh, medicine and medical treatment and psychology and things like that. All these psychiatrists roaming around, and then you have people that are defending this, and I understand it perfectly. They're there for healing us. You know, they're here for if you have a broken bone or if you have a gash, an open wound, they can treat you. But we have seen in the two early years, uh, latest years, that it's not about healing you. People will go there and get irradiated. They're gonna get fucking, like, oh, you're very sick, then we're gonna treat you with radiation, or we're gonna cut pieces of your body and take them off. And um what I want to say with that is that we're saying they're saying that they're healing us, but essentially they're keeping us as clients. you know and you
yeah,
have
Fred.
it's the same thing in everything. It's the same in order followers. They're gonna tell you, we're there for your security. We're there to protect you. Well, essentially, it's a facade, that people are using, and it's the same thing into the freedom movement. It's the same thing. What I want to um, come to is, you have all these people that are bragging about um, knowing all of kinds of things, and then uh, uh, not I sorry, my vocabulary is my
C'est pas grave, mec.
I am searching for my word a little bit. You have these people who talk about freedom. They're in front of you. They sound smart. They look smart, but essentially, when you talk with them, you discover that they have other agendas behind, and this agenda, it's selfishness. Essentially, it's all about this the me Satanists, um, like would say Mark. Um, I think it's very present in the freedom movement, even in the occult movement. There's a lot of pretenders, you know, and I think it's the one part that needs to be touched, and we're not gonna name names here, We're not gonna throw people under the bus. I'm not here for that. I think it's more about exposing it. So can people be aware of it and conscious of it? It's like medical thing. The medical thing I was saying. You have to be conscious when you're going there. You have to be conscious about it. Because you're gonna get screwed. The doctor will prescribe you a bunch of fucking medicines, and they were not gonna tell you that they're gonna make you sick long terms.
It's funny that you mention that, these doctors heal us. We have to understand the use of homophones. Two words that sound the same but have two completely different, have derivations in understanding and meaning. And heal, we have, healing as far as, soothing, help to cure, but, heal also has other connotations too. And I was looking it up, and, one of the other connotations of heal is to tip something over, let's say on one side. And then also too, it has another connotation meaning to control. So if you kind of look at what, these so-called hospitals are doing to us, tipping us over to one side, putting us in one polar extreme in a state of being unbalanced. And then two, the whole controlling aspect of it, believing that they have some kind of authority, believing that, that they know what's better for us. So we have to understand the use of words, because we all know that it is in the controlling of words and linguistics that they really control our minds. And that's how these dark sorcerers keep us in a state of cognitive dissonance. And it's no different than how the abuser keeps, the so-called victim or the person who is being abused in a state of cognitive dissonance, because in that state, in that mind frame, pretty much your brain is pretty much fighting with each other. It's going left, right, it's all over the place. It's in a state of imbalance, in a state of confusion, so in that mindset, how can we truly take in proper, right information?
Well, we know the answer about that. You have to get rid of your own dissonance first. Brendan, Martin, you want to talk about a little bit on how we get out of this?
Yeah, first I'd like to bring up a little personal aspect. I have Lyme disease, and I've been struggling with that for many, many years, probably 7 years now. A lot of people don't know that, but I've been through the medical industry personally, and they are absolute failures at doing anything with people who have rare disorders and most disorders, and in most cases. Now, I will bring up a little bit of a devil's advocate here that, if you have a broken bone or something like this, yeah, maybe you can be medically trained to reset that, but they're pretty good at doing things like that. They're pretty good at dealing with like physical broken things. But when it comes to diseases or illnesses, they absolutely are not. And obviously have been militarized, right? So the medical industry has been militarized and has become a biological war playground, for them to experiment on human beings through many different pharmaceutical drugs, through experiments of different new treatments, and don't mind him, he's ornery today, so he's going to be barking in the background. But he's saying, yeah, he's agreeing with me on that shit. But yeah, it's pretty obvious to me. I mean, if you look at World War II, you can see what the medics did there. And I know that I brought up some stuff on the last roundtable that the true doctors, the medical industry should be aligned with natural law no matter what. They are the highest form of protective agents that we should have on our sides, is what I'm saying, because they fight Brandon. All forces of coercion, So that's a big thing, and that's why they've been monopolized. That's why they've been propagandized and mind controlled, because they are a great asset for the dark occultists to control our bodies and then control our minds with this. And that's why they wear the white coats, because it represents purity. It represents innocence. It represents the light. They're supposed to represent a higher state of consciousness. And that's why, everybody who has been to the doctor knows that you go in there and you talk about natural remedies, you talk about food, you talk about, Eastern medicine, you talk about health, acupuncture or meditation or, exercise or anything like this. Most of those doctors laugh you out of the building. They don't want to have anything to do with that, and they're not trained to have anything to do with that. So it's an old quote that comes to my head is like, let thy food be thy medicine and thy medicine be thy food, right? So that's what we really need to get back in tune with. And that's what medicine really means, is to bring balance within, so you have to become your own doctor. You have to become your own advocate for your own doctor. That's what I've had to do. I had to go through a rigorous, path to find answers, to get solutions, to really help with my condition. And I went to naturopathic doctors. And I think this is what Fred was talking about a little bit of, is that there's a lot of charlatans out there. There's a lot of people out there in the new age communities that are selling this idea of like being naturopathic or, holistic and all this stuff, right? And they really don't know what the hell they're talking about. And that's part of the problem. It's great that people are trying to do that, to counteract the militarized, mainstream medical industry. That's awesome. But make sure that you know what you're doing, because you have people's lives in your hand, and you're going to start sending them down these pathways and not actually know what their condition is, not properly diagnose them, give them things that could amplify their inflammation, and you got to be careful about that. I went through that myself, where I had naturopathic doctors telling me, like, hey, try this. And then my inflammation would just get out of control, and it's a trial and error process. Whenever you have a condition like this, you have to, figure it out, wean yourself off of things. And then, like, especially with your diet, just like, because even some vegetables can be inflammatory to people, and you got to rebuild your system. You got to rebuild your cellular system. You got to rebuild your gut, right? You got to get your gut healthy, your gut biome. You have to get that really healthy. Use adaptogens. Adaptogens are really, really important. Lots of mushrooms and different things like this, fermented foods, So, yeah, I think it's a big thing to have, accurate discernment when it comes to like going to alternative methods, just as you would going to the mainstream methods. You can't just go, oh yeah, this is going to be my golden solution for everything. This is going to save me. This is my savior. This is my healing. It's just another cult, and my dog obviously agrees with me here. So, that's what I got to say.
So, now the generalist, with the one you're going to see to have your checkup, now they're prescribing psychic drugs. Oh, you feel bad? Let me prescribe you this little pill, this happy pill. You're gonna feel right. And they're not treating the illness. They're only treating the symptoms of it.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's like Brave New World. They want to make you docile through chemical, injections or chemical compounds that you are willingly putting into your body, that you're voluntarily putting into your body, So we have the issue that it's ethical to a certain degree. I'm not saying it's moral. I'm saying it's ethical, which are two different things. And it's because you're consenting to that activity, and your ignorance of that is no excuse. Your ignorance of that is no excuse. And when you start to do that to children, to chemically alter their hormones or, political agendas, it's horrible. It's absolutely deplorable. And it's an atrocity on humanity, So it's a big issue, obviously, when we see this going around. And it's all part of the plan. It's a huge part of the plan. And it ties in with epigenetics too. It ties in with the eugenics operation or epidysgenics, because they want to breed people, they want to breed rebellion out of people, right? They want to make sure that everybody is docile, that they submit to the hands of the state, that they just go along to get along, that they can't activate their higher levels of understanding, their higher levels of critical thinking, their higher levels of consciousness, or activate their neocortex, right? They're not going to become the one. because their body is at war with itself, and it's eating itself, and it's devouring itself constantly. That's what a lot of all these autoimmune diseases are, like lupus and stuff. The white blood cells start attacking its own body, its own tissue, its own cells, and they don't know who the enemy is. That's kind of what we're having happen in the world. A lot of people don't know who the enemy is. And trust me, if you knew who the enemy was, you wouldn't be watching Netflix every single day, all day long, and you wouldn't be going to the doctor all the time, because that those fucks don't care about you. They want clients, they want to keep you coming back, and they want your money. It's all driven on greed, it's driven on apathy as well. So,
and what about this freedom movement? What kind of cognitive dissonance you think? I think, what do you guys think about it? What kind of cognitive dissonance that you have in the freedom movement? Basically, you have these people who are crying about freedom, and then they're turning around and they're going to vote.
Yeah, they're going right back to the same thing, which is keeping this, this pattern, this condition, present. And that's the thing. That's what I try to display in my work, or when I'm talking with people, is you have a way that you want the world to be as far as freedom. So there are requirements as far as for us to get to that stage. So in order for us to get to C, then we have to do steps A and B first. Well, if we look at history, we look at the truth of the matter. We are still doing, are these people in these movements are still supporting the same system, voting, putting energy to it, still going halfway, or the whole libertarian route. And even in like the firearms community, you still have people who still support the whole order followers. And I try to explain to y'all, like, hey, who's going to be the ones who are going to be coming after the firearms? Is it the politicians? No. Is it the people in Congress? No. Who is really going to be coming after the firearms? Who has always came after not just firearms, but any forms of weapons? When swords were outlawed in certain areas, who always was the ones who was coming in to enforce these man-made immoral laws? It was always order followers. So why in the hell would anybody who is a member in the firearms community, or the so-called freedom movement, give any of these clowns any support whatsoever? That is what I don't understand. And then you still have people in the freedom movement, who are saying go out and vote. Once again, let's look at, has voting ever changed anything? Because I've never voted in my whole life. That's something that I'm proud of. I've never registered to vote. I have never voted, and I'm 36 years old. Yeah. So
same here. I'm with you on that. I've never voted either. I was raised an anarchist, so
I haven't voted in 12 years, but hey.
You got it over me if you weren't raised
never
an
voted
anarchist.
ever.
Sweet.
I'm embarrassed, guys. No, I'm just kidding. But
But we got these supposed midterms coming up, and there's all this chatter, and like we see all this influence, how that's happening with all of this, stage show, this fucking big ass clown show. So it's like they are priming people up, and I still see, like in the chats, hey man, just go down and just vote. And I see it in the firearms community. I guess the NFA done passed created some kind of laws to ban bump stocks. Like, I don't pay attention to none of that shit, but I still see people who are in fear, and they're like, oh man, I have to take, I've got to take my pistol brace off. So not bump stock, but pistol brace off. And I'm like, dude, you paid for it, you own it. Fuck them. If they come for it, then fucking don't give them the pistol brace. You give them the best quality rounds you have, and there should be hollow points or soft points. Like that's what the mindset should be for these people who claim to want freedom, and then they'll be the same ones, with a second amendment sticker or a founding father sticker or a 3%er sticker. Well, what are you really going to do when that time fucking comes? If you in a state of internal contradiction now and a state of cognitive dissonance, when that time comes, you're still going to be in that state, and you're going to freeze. You're going to lock up. And that's the thing. That's what people don't understand because they haven't made that change mentally. What the fuck makes you think you're gonna make that change physically? It ain't gonna happen.
Yeah, we have here in Quebec, it's really bad. You know, people are becoming even more crazier now. Um, they're actually showing their allegiance to their political party everywhere. You know, it's like in United States, the same thing. You know, they
Waving
have
their
the
flags of whatever
I
colors. Like, yeah,
I live
don't
in
have to
Quebec
see
in
them.
Canada, but I'm not fucking waving the flag around. I'm not wearing it, you know, because I know what it represents. But most people, they see it as this nationalism is very strong, you know. Here in Quebec, it's the French people. The French people are they're proud. I don't know about what they're proud exactly, but they're proud about their flag. They're this blue flag with a cross in the middle, you know, and the symbol of the monarchy, you know,
Yeah.
all over it, and they're waving the this fucking rag around, you know, and I'm telling them, dude, it's your fucking corporation, you know, you're proud of it. This is what represents you. This is what represents your culture, you know, and well, they want freedom, you know. They're writing freedom everywhere, you know, but they're gonna go back there and put their consent and their energy into this nonsense. uh
Belief in authority.
y- I mean, I'm telling them, you're not choosing anything. You're choosing what they're choose for you, essentially. You're changing the face on the pen card. That's pretty much it, you know.
Arranging
And
the
that
decks
you
or
have
the
and you have
deals
this
on their side.
progressist mindset, you know, because people are changing, the culture is changing, so you have this progressist mindset, and it's a fucking cult, you know. It's a fucking cult.
Yeah, and so I mean, we're addressing a lot of the problems on all that, and we've all, well, maybe not everyone to a degree and whatever, but at the same time, like everyone's been subjected to all types of mind control on a multitude of levels in so many ways, and it's really, really, really hard for one person to break down their ego and what they think they know and be as open-minded as they think to be or even give lip service to be, right? And actually crack open, that calcified egg within their skull that was, blocking off all different types of arrays of information coming in that would possibly contradict what they thought and learned, and had predisposed beliefs about whatever the hell, regarding, towards, how they were raised and whatever. And I'm sure the fine gentlemen around me would agree as well, or had similar experiences in that just growing up, things just didn't seem right. We were kind of swimming against the currents because what we saw and what we heard just didn't feel necessarily resonant within, the core essence of our being. In whatever way we articulated that throughout our youth and growing up, and how we cultivated that and learned to, get a stronger connection to that. But yeah, growing up and with the conditioning and all this stuff that we're learning, everything takes you away from that core essence of your true connection to your soul. So we all got to take it back, and we can even take it back to the beginning of when Fred mentioned the shadow work stuff, because a lot of people are not familiar with, they think they know what it is. They act like they've done a percentage of it. They don't understand that it's a full-time job process, a daily operation type of shit where, you know what? There ain't no fucking arrival point. We're all in a process of awakening and self-mastery and all this shit. So humble your beautiful souls and just try to open up your hearts and minds towards the fact that even what the fuck you think you've subscribed to and give given countless hours towards, it's not necessarily 100% true. And that's okay. We all have to learn and go through the process of understanding that so much of this reality field in the, consciousness is fragmented beyond belief, beyond what most people can fathom within the third, fourth, fifth dimension, whatever the fuck people want to mention in regards to ascension, So it's a process. Please be patient and gentle with yourselves and others, and stop jumping on the bandwagons of other things and acting like some, like Jill or Johnny come lately trying to, grab the wheel of the, bandwagon of truth and this and that and steer it off a fucking cliff, You're not supposed to climb the, the shoulder and stand on the shoulders of giants just to fucking take a shit on them, have more fucking respect. How do you think people behaved back in, a century or two ago? They actually, took a lot of fucking free time and mental energy to articulate what the fuck they think they know in their own thoughts and all that shit. What the fuck are we doing right now? Saturated in a bunch of media minutia fucking bullshit in the matrix. Extract yourself out of that for as long as you can to get an overview picture of the larger picture within the outside picture of yourself and your ego and all this shit the fuck you think you know. And what you think, all your idols and what you learn from think they know all as well. Nobody knows 100% of the truth. Just keep that in mind and be open to all sorts of things. All you flat earthers out there, all you people talking about this and that and veganism and carnism and whatever the hell. Can we please get to a fucking level of understanding? Do you have any fucking fertile soil within your soul to, lay down for other people to learn from and grow forthwith from,
Oh, we're not anywhere near that, man. We're not.
Not really.
When you're talking about this,
sure.
just religion and politics, and then you want to add meat on that. This shit,
rare.
You're gonna make division even more. It's like I agree with you, Derek, that we should leave all this shit go, in the past. But essentially, it's like shadow work. We have to get through it. We have to have discussions together, and then comes to reconciliation, through it. And I think that this is the part there that not many would want to do. I personally, I went to all of that, the cognitive dissonance. We're probably all of us are like getting through some, and it's not a bad thing.
Of course,
we're
yeah,
humans.
it's a beautiful thing.
We're making mistakes.
It's a beautiful struggle, right?
I mean, if you a struggle is a perception of it.
Indeed.
I mean, it's your way to interpret it. But I mean, when you know that life, there's no coincidence anymore. This is what I know. I went to know with the time that nothing happens as an accident. When the synchromysticism and the synchronicities of life, if you're very patient and aware and very conscientious about these things, you're gonna see it everywhere. Some people would call it psychosis. Some people will refuse that, because essentially we're a powerful magnet, and this magnet we're not only dragging things to us, we're pushing things to people, and we're pushing things in nature and spiritually. So one of the cognitive dissonance that went with that is atheism. Atheism is, as such, is, I think, it's the biggest one of all. You know?
Yeah,
I
you see
mean,
that floating around a lot.
You Brendan, had experience with atheism?
I like to kind of go on Quora and like he'll answer philosophical questions, and man, you'll be surprised on how many people with degrees will come on there and just spout the atheistic bullshit. And like these are people, who are like teachers at universities and shit, and they have all their credentials, forgot I study at this university, and I'm this and that. And I'm like, none of that shit is relevant because your credentials don't mean shit, because that doesn't explain who you are as an individual. And all your credentials are just a fucking piece of paper that's been, held stamped by Caesar that says, hey, forgot I get to teach this, so that shit doesn't mean shit to me. I mean, I care about more than what I flush down the fucking toilet than your fucking credentials, as far as, how your BA or PhD, that shit don't mean nothing, just letters on the fucking paper. But they'll come in just spewing this atheistic shit. And really, all it really is, because most of them despise her religion. So they go from one extreme to the next fucking help, the next polar extreme. And maybe they had some kind of bad experience growing up, either in the church, they possibly got touched by the priest, how maybe their parents were just so forceful, or, like maybe their sexuality, isn't really considered, or it's not acceptable in this religion. So they want to rebel. So what's the next thing? They go to, I don't want to say the complete opposite, but they go and find the, pretty much what its counterpart would be, and atheism is something that is just blowing up because, you see all these professors, you see all these kind of celebrities and stuff like that, and they are spouting this stuff, and it's been spouted in a lot of entertainment too. And then we see the kind of demoralization process happening too. And that's another thing, is when it comes down to it, how every atheist is going to be pretty much a moral relativist. And that's the thing, is like, it's like all of these ideas as far as like solipsism, atheism, moral relativism, they're all kind of like revolve around the same, the same cancer. It's like a god or a mini-me god, like complex. And that's what I've seen. And majority of these people don't even know what shadow work is, never even heard of it, because majority of these people would say, hey, there's nothing, like there's no spiritual side of man. We're all just physical, hell, we are just here to live our lives. And it's just the same regurgitation over and over and over. And that's the thing, like if we are just a physical things, then what would be the point of all of this? Like all of this has meaning. And spirit exists in everything. How energy exists in everything. Consciousness exists in everything. But their whole mentality is because I can't put it underneath a microscope, or I can't feel it, it's not tangible to touch, then it's not real. But yeah, I have experience with this cancer of atheism a lot. And I'm not even a religious person, but when you start trying to talk with these people, they'll automatically assume that you are religious. And it's like, no, stop putting yourself in a box. I'm not a Christian. I'm not a Muslim. I'm not like I'm not with freaking Judaism. I'm not a Buddhist. I'm not with none of that. And that's the thing. Like they can't understand it because they're like, well, what are you? I'm just an individual. I'm just consciousness. Like
amazing.
Yeah, they're no call you a new age spiritualist. Yeah,
right.
Right.
Yep.
You're not part of their dialectic. They got another little spot to put you in. I can definitely chime in on some of this if you can deal with my dog barking. So the first thing is I think what we're talking about here is a breakdown of philosophical understanding and philosophical education, and this is something that Brandon really brought up. So in philosophy, you have four main branches, which is metaphysics, logic, ethics, and ontology. Is that the other one? logic, metaphysics, ethics. I think it's ontology. I'm pretty sure it's ontology, which is like the study of the self and the study of the nature of a thing. And the idea about atheism can be easily dismissed through a transcendental argument. So if anybody looks into transcendentalism or transcendental arguments, you can really simply find out, that atheism is just another religion, and it doesn't hold up. And the way you can do that is just by understanding true logic. Okay, so I'll give you a couple examples of this. The idea, this is some of the presuppositional worldviews of atheism, right? Is that the entire fabric of nature itself is all chaotic, that it's all made up of entropy and only chaos and matter, right? But everything is chaotic. Let's start with that foundation, right? Well, that idea is a fundamental flaw in logic, okay? And I'll explain why. Because first of all, for you to get to that logical conclusion that everything is chaos, everything, meaning that even logic is chaos, you cannot be logically consistent at all, because logic is about being consistent to come to an orderly understanding of an objective truth, okay? All those things, what I just said there, are based on consistency and order, okay? So the idea of objective truth completely throws the chaos theory out the window. Does it mean there is no chaos? No, it just means that not the entirety of the universe is based upon entropy or chaos, okay? So logic is used to come to the correct understanding of something, right? Well, if it's all chaos, you can never come to the correct understanding of that thing. Never, ever, absolutely not, because it's all relative. If it's relative, there is no objective truth, okay? And that's what postmodernism is all about, obviously. So that's one way you can dispute that. And logic is kind of a metaphysical property. It's a transcendental thing. It's not something that you can see. It's something that you have in your consciousness that allows you to make use of the world, And my dog obviously is going to be pretty loud on this one. He's ornery today.
I don't like what you're saying. Yeah. He's agreeing with you
today. And, but yeah, that's one thing I wanted to bring up, is understanding philosophical consistency, right? And you have to get your logic in place. And, I really like what Derek was bringing up. We really have to get in tune with ourselves and really take a look at ourselves, at our own hypocrisy, right? Our own contradictions. So whenever you have an idea, see if that idea is consistent, okay? See if it actually holds up. Are you being hypocritical? If you are, take a step back, be like, hey, maybe there's something wrong here. I need to take another look at myself, and this is what a lot of these fallacious ideas are based upon, is hypocrisy.
I mean, when you have cognitive dissonance at this point, in the freedom movement and the occult movement and all these sub communities there, there's always a danger for collectivism and hoarding and gatekeeping. And you have people who let's take an example like Union student and Darwin, not Darwin, but I can't remember the name, but you have two psychologists completely different, and then
Jung and Freud.
they're gonna
Freud,
Freud,
and Jung.
exactly.
Yeah. Yep, and Young. Yeah.
So basically, you talked about materialism, science. So materialism as such is it's on the breather right now, because they're struggling to get back to the meta and the things that we cannot see, and the thing we cannot explain in books. And these are doctrines, like natural law. Some people will take a stance and refute natural law. It doesn't mean that we should ignore it. It doesn't mean we should censor them. Doesn't mean that we should block them and keep them away from having a conversation. Because even in the great work, even some great worker are still in cognitive dissonance about a lot of
absolutely.
things. So I'm
Right.
not here, like I said in the beginning, I'm not here to throw anyone under the bus. And
It's like
I've been this person before. You know, when I began this path of self discovering, you know, we're still undoing the lies of our own um our own demise, you know, our own choices. And the thing is, the problem with social networks, there's a lot of good things there. Networking, like I'm using it for how would you teach how would you how would we teach natural law if we are too busy ignoring people?
great point. Yeah. Great point.
I mean, you got it there. You know, I wouldn't do that if I didn't care about people. You know, and I didn't. I wouldn't have people. I wouldn't have people talking like you guys here if I didn't want to evolve and grow up and grow from this conversation. I mean, this is how we're supposed to be. We're not supposed to gatekeep anything. You know, we're because we're considered like great workers, but there's great workers who are on the other side, and they are as useful. They are as uh because they're showing us the other side. Because without people showing you the other side, you wouldn't learn as much. You know.
Yeah. They're getting
It's
paid
like,
a shitload more money than us. I've been doing this
And,
all for free, man. What the hell?
I'd
And,
like to add
just a
in.
quick-
Oh, go ahead, Brandon.
Oh no, just a quick note. That was James
Yeah.
Courtner that asked that question. You know, so
Yeah,
hey,
all
shout
right.
out to James Courtner.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You know, shout out to
Shout out
Joe
Evolution.
Mary. Yeah. Shout out to them. Everyone goes to the website. And I'm sure the videos will be posted up. You know, so go out and check out the wonderful conference that was put on yesterday, Shatter, the Illusion Conference. So shout out to James Courtner. All right.
Get him.
so
I just wanted to add in there
yeah.
that the other branch of philosophy was epistemology, which is the justification for knowledge and how you can justify that knowledge is a real thing, which gets you out of solipsism, and it allows you to discern an objective truth. So that's the foundation of all of those philosophies. You start with epistemology and you work your way up. Metaphysics would be the last one. And ethics would fall in the lines of understanding morality, but ethics doesn't necessarily mean morality. But I wanted to add in there that I think, you know, sometimes for me, since I'm such an advanced student with a lot of these things, I can get ahead of myself for the layman's, right? Like if I start getting into a lot of philosophical concepts, a lot of laymen's are going to be like, whoa, what the heck is this guy talking about? So if you bring it back down to the average person's, you know, level of being able to discern these things, I think taking baby steps is really important for an individual. And just starting with working on yourself and starting with caring about yourself enough, you know, because one of the main things that we go through when we go through trauma is apathy and self-loathing. You know, we start to hate ourselves, and then we have apathy and we don't like anything in the world. We have no care for any political, you know, things that are going on, any kind of iniquities or inequities going on in the world. So you have to take a self-interest in your own well-being. You have to be able to say, hey, I want to get better. I want to progress. I want to, you know, and it can be small things. It can just be like, hey, I want to get up in the morning and exercise and do yoga, or I want to get up in the morning and stimulate my mind with something that's more healthy. Because when we talk about changing our minds and our bodies. It's not just what you eat. You have to change, what you're putting into your mind too. That's another form of information. Food is a form of information, and then information, obviously, whether that's digital or analog, it doesn't matter. That's all information. It's all information, it's all in format ion. So we need to really, I think that's kind of what we were trying to get to here is more solutions. That's what you were trying to bring up, Derek, is like, we talk about problems a lot, but like, why can't we have more solutions? I think we bring up a lot of solutions in these shows, but to a lot of people, it's like they've heard these things before. Like, well, oh yeah, work on myself, and it's not enough for some people because they really need assistance personally in their own lives. They need friends, they need family members, but they have to want to have help themselves. It's just like an addiction, someone who has a major addiction. You can't really help that person until they're ready to help themselves. Yeah. I mean, you can interfere with them at some level, like if they're becoming, so bad in the addiction that they're going through self-harm, obviously, and they could kill themselves. So you could interfere at some level, which could still be ethically kind of strange when you get into those areas, but usually you would as a best friend, if he's a heroin junkie and he's, trying to kill himself with heroin or something and it, then, you're probably going to interfere, and it's kind of your obligation to, obviously, right? So, I think people need support groups. That's something that they need, but we don't want to sound like an Al-Anon cult. We don't want to sound like an AA cult. We want to make sure that these support groups are based upon principles. So you got to get your principles down first to be a supporter of people who need to get better. And that's why we have so many issues, is that all these support groups out there, all the people helping other people, I'm not saying that they can't get help out there. I'm just saying that a lot of those people who are helping are still moral relativists, are still trapped in the status propaganda and the mind control. And thus it prevents them from actually getting to the next level. They get a little bit of help, and then what do? They get reinitiated back into the cult. They get reinitiated back into the 9 to 5. They get reinitiated back into the mechanisms of making them a materialist, or, just making them a drone back into the culture. And at some levels, some of the addicts are actually better off before that, even for the world, So it's really strange, because somebody brought up hedonism earlier and how atheism is about hedonism and stuff like that. I talk out against hedonism all the time. It's one of the main methods that people fall for, because, chronic use of entertainment is hedonism. It's this underlying philosophical idea that you put pleasure above everything else in the world. Okay. And it's not just happiness, it's happiness and pleasure. Okay. So it's okay to be slightly, hedonistic to a certain degree. But when you make that your primary principle, when you make that's your ultimate goal in reality, to just live through pleasure and happiness, then obviously it's a failure. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy that you will never get to that also, because you're always chasing something that you'll never get to. You're always looking for happiness, and you'll never actually get to that state, right? It's like, oh, it's the next thing, I'll be happy. The next thing, I'll be happy, right? And you never actually get to that state. And if you look at the word happiness, what's in there? It's happen, right? You have happen in the word happiness, right? So it's something that has happened, and it can be very subjective to your own, your own personality traits, your own mind, your own emotions, obviously. So it's okay to be happy. So I'm not saying it's not okay to be happy. Obviously, it's our right to be happy, but make sure you're happy for the right reasons. Make sure you're happy because you're doing that which is right, and you're living in harmony with natural law, and you're helping the world, and you're trying to end slavery. You're trying to do something in this world because the world has meaning. So, I think agnosticism is also a good place to start for a lot of people, but people get stuck there. They get stuck there, and then they end up atheists afterwards, right? If they do move beyond it, they go right into atheism. It's like, what happened to you? Or they fall for dialectical materialism, and they become postmodernists, So it's really crazy. And then they look at people like us who talk about, a creative force or a divine creator, or the one great architect of the universe. And they're like, oh, you guys are, talking about objective truth. And it's like, can you give me direct evidence of a divine creator? And I'm like, yeah, look all around you. How about all the fractal patterns within nature itself and all these beautiful plants and organisms that are organically coming together to organize to create the experience that we're having. So, I also don't take the, this is a little long rant, but I don't take the other approach, which is that matter is insignificant either. We have to have a balance between matter and spirit. I mean, look at this matter here,
Yeah.
It's the beautiful spiritual matter right here, and this is important. So you can't take that away with the New Age movement that nothing here matters. We can't have that approach. This is where we're experiencing the spiritual, existence at this time in the present moment of now. This is the weird thing about the New Age movement. They're like present moment of now, right? But then they're like, oh, no, fuck matter. Matter doesn't matter. It's like you're in the present moment of now. This is the level that you're existing at. Head in the sky, head in the clouds, feet on the ground. It's spirit and flesh. So deal with that. You have to deal with that. Your body is a manifestation of your soul, your spirit. Every little atom that you have is a manifestation of consciousness, and that's why I don't get in with these dialectical manipulations, because it's all mind control, it's all a big psyops. It's a giant psyops. Mark Passio was talking about a bunch of these, and everybody gets caught in this circle jerk where they all want to fight, but at the same time, they want to, jack each other off, because they all get caught up in the nostalgia of something new. Like the flat earthers are like, oh, this is new. This is the thing that I'm going to latch on to. And then what do? This brings me to the subject that I wanted to bring up. They egally identify with it, right? Yeah. They get egally identified and attached to it, right?
Yep.
Right.
So and that's a big issue, right? Because then they're unwilling to look at alternative information. And then when you do bring up alternative sciences or information, they immediately scrutinize you, they harass you, they come on your podcast and, try to dominate the chat board and all this stuff, right? And it's just horrible, right? They don't want to have a good civil discourse. And usually they just want to use ad hominems, more logical fallacies, right?
Yeah.
So it's a big issue. But this is what I wanted to say is that the ego has a use, Don't fall for the other side, which is like kill your ego. The ego is your part of you. It's a part that is supposed to allow you to identify yourself. So I always give this example. The ego is what allows me to understand that I'm not the tree branch that's coming down upon my head after a lightning storm. It's what allows me to understand that I am me, the monad consciousness, and I have this physical body and it needs to protect me. I need to protect myself is what I mean. So I always say this too. The ego doesn't really want to be in control of you, okay? Because it knows its proper place and its in your consciousness. It doesn't want to control you. But if you don't control yourself, it will gladly take that position to be the executor of your consciousness. And it will say, until you're ready, I'm going to sit in the throne. I'm not going anywhere. And I'm not going to run it as good as you, but, better the devil right? So everybody gets caught in that. These egocentrics, they're like, oh man, it's all about me, selfishness, right? But it doesn't really want to be there because as soon as you get into that position of conflict with the ego, it will fight back a little bit, but then, it will start to back off because it knows who really is the throne, bearer, the person who's supposed to sit in the throne. And it's your consciousness. And the ego is there as a tool for you to use to understand the physical world and to understand yourself, your physical identity. That's why it means I. It's the individuation process is what the ego is. Just like the shadow. We got the same issue with the shadow, right? People are like, the shadow is evil. Kill the shadow. Kill the ego. Death to all these things. It's like, no, these are part of your consciousness and you need to work with them. You need to befriend them and you need to know how to use them. Sorry for the long rant, but my dog was actually quiet, so I could actually get something good out.
Fuck yeah, brother. You killed it, man. Yeah, so many great things
great points.
Lean off of that, man. Yeah, and like the shadow is your dragon, like the never-ending story. You want to ride that shit and have control of it and wield that shit as if it was your life force, that will force within the core essence of your being that is going to steer you and navigate you towards, the higher paths in life. the flying dragon. We're flying, you know, we're going up, we're ascending, you know, like, and we're supposed to anchor that shit here in the 3D realm as well. Too many folks be talking about 5D, whatever the hell. Hey, guess what? Do you actually fully know yourself? Have you spun your Merkaba in the right direction to spin to that higher dimension anyways, by the way? But yeah, like, Brandon, you brought up so many great points, and like, it all comes back to, yes, shadow work and understanding the axioms of the fallacies of the false teachings of this reality and the situation that we're placed in, all these things, you know, and the fallacy that you have within yourself as well. As above, so below. You have to take the correspondence, the macrocosm to the microcosm, and understand the levels of conditioning and break that down all the way to the levels of right here and expand that outwards as well. You know, we're not here just to, you know, learn and, you know, activate and escape and ascend and leave everyone else behind. That's a bunch of fucking bullshit. Yes, there's that new age notion of all that, but not to get into any kind of tangents on all those things, because yeah, the focus is cognitive dissonance. And I don't even think we even broke down the meaning of it for those that don't fully understand it.
I wanted to do that earlier. Yeah, I meant to do that earlier, actually.
Yeah, totally. But it's just,
break it down for us.
I mean, from my experience, just growing up, you know, like, you learn certain things that contradict what you thought were so true in your bleeding heart, whatever, and you know, you felt so passionate about a certain way, but it wasn't necessarily true, and later on it kicked you in your fucking ass. And that is part of the shadow work. That's facing the mirror. That's facing all your mistakes and all the false doctrines and all these other things that you believed in that were, you know, not necessarily true, and you've been duped, and you have to realize and accept and also reconcile within yourself, make that, you know, eternal apology to yourself that you're sorry, you took back the word, you took back the action of, you know, falling for all these things, and you don't want to do that anymore. You want to disassociate from all that shit, you know? You want to redeem yourself, you want to empower yourself, you know? Oh, the shadow work is so dark. No, it's fucking like making the darkness fucking light. What kind of fucking keys are you holding that can unlock all those locks within yourself that are weighing you the fuck down? You got it all yourself, you know? There's all these other things that can help us. You can take, you know, adaptogens and shrooms and whatever, DMT, and do that shit. But at the same time, how much are you focused essentially within yourself on a sober level, you know? And I'm saying this after smoking 10 spliffs today. Do I sound like a fucking stoner? Do I sound like I've, whatever the fuck, you know? And whatever the hell, you know? Oh, sorry for the F word. But
the light is within the heart of darkness by Joseph Conrad, you know?
Yeah, it's like, yeah. I'm not trying to come up with all the yang energy and this and that. I'm gonna break it down with all the compassionate stuff, because we've all been there. We've all sipped a little Kool-Aid from whatever toxic, you know, vat of death from Babylon, straight up. But just realize that the goal in this life is master yourself. The heart, mind, and guts, all that shit aligned, and understanding eternal principles of natural law. You build that foundation within yourself, and, you know, yes, you know, spirit in the, you know, clouds, you know, feet on the ground. We are those types of spiritual warriors. Step into that role. This is not a spectator sport. This is not something to just, you know, bicker about people and commentate on the latest thing that's floating around alternative media and stuff. This is real. This is live. This is in your face. And you have to make a choice on a daily basis on what you are aligned to, what you're consuming, like all that soul food, right? Whether you're digesting it physically, mentally, emotionally, what you're paying attention to, what you're eating, all that stuff.
Yeah, don't be an armchair quarterback.
We'll talk about all that shit, man. Are you feeling light as a feather or what? No.
Yeah.
Dude,
I would like to. Yeah, I would like to define cognitive dissonance. Which, yeah, I'll apologize because I meant to define this within the first time I was talking, but a cognitive dissonance is when you have two thoughts that are happening within your mind that are in opposition, in disagreement. And I always try to keep it simple. He'll look at it as internal disagreement within the mind. Or if you want to look at it like this, if you have two thoughts, imagine those thoughts as two frequencies. If these two frequencies don't harmonize with each other, there's going to be friction. But if they do harmonize with each other, then it will be harmony. So you have that kind of entropy and syntropy in a sense. So if those thoughts are in contradictory, then there'll be disharmony and there'll be opposition. And then that's what is happening internally. Then therefore that gets manifested outwardly onto the external plane. And that's why we see a lot of people who are in the truth community who are still stuck in this cognitive dissonance, and they think that disagreement on the external plane is something that is bad, which we are not all going to agree on the same thing. That's what makes us unique. That's what makes us individuals. I'm sure the four of us are not going to agree 100% on the same thing, and that's totally fine. But a form of disagreement which should not be tolerated is internal disagreement. Disagreement within the self, disagreement within the mind, disagreement within the heart, and disagreement if your actions are betraying, are going against that which you say and feel. So that's how I would describe cognitive dissonance as internal disagreement, and just keep it simple for people. And like Brandon said, is sometimes we can like get so far ahead of people. We have to keep it simple and base for them to understand. Then as they are starting to understand more, then we can start to feed and interject some of the deeper stuff. But I think most of what we're saying can be understood. It's just people don't really want to understand, and that's the thing. Is sadly we are not going to be able to reach everyone, and some people are going to have to suffer to a point where they are forced, like they're going to be forced to to see what's going on. Like people need that shake, like people need that jolt, and people fear that. But that's what the shadow work is supposed to be about. That shaking up, that diving into the unknown. That's what it's all supposed to be about. That emotional feeling uncomfortable. That's what gets you to push through. That what gets you to continue to search. That's what is supposed to spark that curiosity. And that's what people don't have. And that's why we see so much disagreement, and we see so much infighting. We see so much name calling, man. We see people just making videos calling people a shield, like just putting so much energy in that. And these people haven't done any form of shadow work. You know it because you see it in their actions. It's like if we are all supposed to be about freedom, we're all supposed to be about truth, and all supposed to be about spreading information and freeing ourselves. And why are we stuck in these forms of division? Divide and conquer. But like I've always said, that division happens on an internal plane first. A lot of people still think, it's happening, externally. No, it's happening in here.
First cosmic law, brother. That's right. Well said.
I think what we forget to mention is that it's healthy to have an argument and having debates about ideas.
Fuck yeah, man.
I mean, I would take I would like to take the One Great Work as an example. It's okay to tap on each other's shoulders from time to time, and then encourage ourselves into it. But there's not much real debate or argument about some things. I mean, we come from a different experience. We didn't took the same path. We didn't take this, choose the same thing. And I think some of us, like I'm this kind of guy. I like to talk real things in life. When I'm having conversation, if I'm not talking about like real things of life, I find the conversation inane, and I'm not interested on having like boring conversation about weather or what happened on TV. You know, I want this world to be better. This is what care is used for. And I like what you all said, guys, about um the inner work. But inner work is about destruction of lies. It's it's unmaking the lies and the deception of of oneself. So sometimes you're gonna have to argue about this part of yourself. And when I'm talking of argument, it's not vocal argument. Your heart will tell you something, and your brain will tell you the contrary. And this is where cognitive dissonance is based on. It's like you have this emotional force, this compass of in your life, and then you have the rationality of the brain. You have the um, the logic of things. So what I learned into the trivium is how to separate things, separate emotional thinking and intellectual thinking, and how to reconcile both of them. So you have I'm the kind of guy I like objective thing. I look into things the objectively, and I repeated that a lot because I think this word is important. I'm not when I'm having a conversation with someone, when I'm looking to things, I'm not involving my emotions in them. At least as far as I can. Like there's some subject I'm gonna get passionate about, and I'm gonna like start like throwing vitriol out. I'm this way, but I can have a fairly even with atheists, even with statists, I can have a conversation with respect and morality and show them, because this is what it's all about. Like you're doing it for yourself, and then you have to show the example.
Yep.
So if you encounter evil, if you encounter lies, if you encounter deception, and you know that's deception, it's your work to do it. It's your work to counter it. It's your work to say something or do something about it. When people are telling me, "Oh, you have to vote, it's your duty." I'm telling them, "Motherfucker, you don't know anything about politics. You wouldn't say these things to me. I'm telling you, I'm an ideological anarchist. I never voted. I'm against everything that comes from government. Everything. And you're telling me that I have to concede my rights, concede my energy to liars, and they're going to take care of me. Sure. Sure, they're going to take care of me. They did a great job, you know, sending me working out at 16 years old, throw me out of the school, you know, because I wasn't like the other. I wasn't I wasn't I wasn't getting into the mold, you know. And you have all these people who are like telling you, "Oh, you have to vote. You have to vote this fucking shit government out." How does it fucking works? You're gonna vote out a pile of crap, and then you're gonna put another one inside, and they're telling you, "Oh, this guy there, this politician there, is his heart is at a good place. So where he come from? Where does he come from? Where do you take his money to make politics? And then you get back in the fucking trees of money, because if you want to have true response about politicians and government, you go into the money. So we
you
have
talking shit
one
about the
here in
government,
Quebec.
man?
He's
What the hell?
progressist. He's a progressist. He's for freedom, and he's backed up by the Desmarais. They are the like the billionaires of Quebec and Canada. You know, they're globalists. You know, and they're all have the same face. For me, they're all liars, and the people were telling me that they're gonna vote out tyranny. You're liars. You're as charlatans as these motherfuckers outside. You're not gonna convince anyone who's outside of the mind control. When you're out of this, nobody can give you this. Nobody can get you, convert you again. You're not gonna tell me that you love animals and you have them in your plate. That's cognitive dissonance. You're a freedom fighter. That's cognitive dissonance. Because freedom fighter, it's an oxymoron.
Damn.
You're fighting freedom, and people cannot fucking see it. It's right there in your face.
Yeah. There's a bunch that can, and just to show some love and respect to the folks that posted some really good information in the chats. I mean, Amy Pierce, much love, Elution. That is a healthy solution, which is not just a play on word, but Lovolution is a cool product that she created. You can actually look it up online. She's got the goods, yo. Health is wealth, yo. But she said that I refused the pledge of allegiance in the 7th grade. Man, bravo. And until he graduated school, felt wrong to her. Bunch of lies for sure. Didn't make sense at all. Another Facebook user said, talking about government and stuff, a bunch of sex traffickers, no doubts, and
Yep.
a bunch of other bad behaviors and this and that. And becoming conscious of our unconscious behaviors is what shadow work is quite about as well. Active research commented harmony, balance, middle path, real talk, and much to glean on that. If you don't bring forth what is in you, what is in you will destroy you.
Destroy you. It's a great quote. Yeah, that's a good quote.
Yeah. People will claim to refute materialism, but simultaneously assume or imply that consciousness is emergent rather than primal. And also, just there's so much contradiction within people's lip service and what they say and practice, what they don't preach necessarily. And folks like that are easily see-through and far out of reach as far as what my consciousness radar bullshit meter level is on, which is why I love talking to folks like y'all and listening to people that take the time and appreciation for respects to y'all that are listening to us and taking in the things, even though most of the people that are listening to this know what's going on. It's more about how can we address the situation as far as expanding people's horizons and cracking chipping away at that calcified ego or whatever it is that are blocking them from realizing their own cognitive dissonance and things that they're ultimately subscribed to or not able to see out of that spectrum. You know what I mean? And yes, Brandon Spencer, you mentioned the fact that, and I think we spoke about that the other day in our podcast, that when is it going to be the ultimate catalyst for people to kind of get that that snap moment, like that for them to like, oh shit, we can all be like some type of catalyst and saying certain things, but it's like, and Passio harkens on this, And the lies that are being spread 24/7 are harking on that hardcore, and they got billions of dollars backing that up through marketing on just repetition of, this is what it is. And going back to health, they're going to put all their, fundraising advertisements for, all types of, pharmaceutical drugs. And these are all the things that could save you and this and that. And then the last 30 seconds is brrr, all the side effects. And that is people's tacit compliance to all that fuckery. You made the choice to take that and buy that, knowing that it had side effects. But let's not euphemize things. It's not a side effect. It's a fucking secondary effect of that fucking drug, right? They paid how much for that fucking, advertisement, marketing, and the FDA or whoever the fuck, permits, all this toxic fucking bullshit said, yeah, sell that shit. Fuck it. All the GMOs, all that stuff, buy that shit, sell it, What are you waiting for?
I mean,
Cognitive dissonance?
I mean, that's another thing. Let's talk about this, because this is cognitive dissonance in plain sight. Okay, we have this victimization, everywhere. It's everywhere. Okay, we're victimizing ourselves. We're calling ourselves slaves. We have all this self-loathing things that even in the great work, even in the freedom movement, even in the spiritual movement, you have this salvationist victimhood into the collective mindset. Okay, I just want to say that it's not because people tell you that you're a slave that you're a slave. We're never been slave, because we accepted it. We consented to it. When you about like consent, consent can be given in silence and non-action. So we're here talking about things that I think are mind altering in the aspect of intellectual and spiritual awakening and spiritual growth. But we're still placing ourselves as victims. And I think that's one of the point that needs to be brought to the light, is that we're talking about intersectionalists and feminism and meninism, these MRA feminists, these men feminists that are fucking victimizing themselves. They think they have they think they have the answer to. They're calling. Actually, they're telling to people that evil is nature of women. Selfishness is nature of women. It's first of all, you're wrong if you think that women are broken like naturally. Okay, it's not nature of women. This is I think Mark Passio nailed it on his presentation. The neo-feminism.
Yeah, the unholy feminine. Yeah, that was great.
So people, if you want to see this presentation, it's fucking awesome. I think it's one of Mark's greatest work.
Oh.
Because it exposes like cultural indoctrination but we have these people, these Derek, intersectionalism, you're in the epicenter of it.
Yeah, what can you say? I was born in the gayest capital of the world, apparently, in San Francisco. But I can't deny that I haven't danced the disco or eaten crackers made by Nabisco. But check this, yo. No, I'm just kidding. Not to fuck around with the rhymes and all that shit. It's just fun, Have a little fun with the truth, Spread around, George Carlin and all them and be snarling. What the hell? Where the fuck are they, modern day folks, Justin Padini, get on the fucking stage, do your fucking stand-up shit like, Dave Chappelle. What the hell? Making me want to yell and do that shit myself. But anyways, what were you asking again?
We're talking about victimization and
well, yeah, I mean, you can feel completely abandoned or victimized or like completely traumatized just by realizing the real lies that have been exposed to you through the real eyes that you finally wipe the crust away from that other shit. Get the filters out. There's these rose-colored glasses. All my new age brothers and sisters that are striving to ascend and all this stuff. I'm not poking fun at y'all and do your yoga and all that stuff and everything, but I've talked to too many of y'all, and sometimes you don't want to address the negative just because you want to stay in that positive light and not understand the whole methods of manipulation that are kind of running your life, and you're not necessarily aware of it, and you're given willful ignorance to it. That's something that you cannot fucking bypass in this reality, because you are not going to be maneuvering through the matrix unscathed as much as you fucking think you are. You cannot just fucking meditate in the hills and ignore reality and not have that shit knock on your fucking door eventually. Why the fuck can we not just unite on some kind of fucking level? Please.
yeah.
What kind of platform do we have to build to be like, hey, this is I put out a project a couple weeks ago, inspired by the Freedom Under Natural Law conference. I called it like the New Society Project or the Free Society Project, because I didn't want to call it the same thing, or this and that. I ain't no simp and this and that. I'm not trying to be like, oh, I'm down with the new, what. I want to be involved
even atheists.
and I want y'all to take the floor right now because I'm done.
I'm telling you, if there's atheists, who's gonna listen to it, fucking contact me, man. I want everyone in it. I want to hear your point of view, and I want to have a debate. We want arguments. This is where we at. We are at the healing state now. We're Mark Passios, Michael Tessarians, Jordan Maxwell's, and Max Egan repeated constantly for years, and nobody went up with it. There's a bunch of us who try as much as we can with the information that with the money we have, but we still need money for it. It's time to fucking grow up. It's time to mature up. Even the people in the great work in the spiritual, in the spiritual communities, it's time to mature up. It's time to grow up, people, because we're getting fucking close, man. I'm telling you, just in Canada, I told you guys how fucking bad it's coming. We're still having a good life, but we can feeling tied up. We lost our rights as parents. Now they can like fucking do whatever they want. I'm not gonna let it do it, but it's still happening, and I think we need you guys. The people will listen to it, even if you don't have like deep understanding of things. You're still listen. People will. I will like answer your questions. This is what the LIBERcast is all about. It's about like getting people together. And is it yeah, well, that's fucking fascist Canada there. Fucking garbage people who are in the government.
What?
That's economic. That's economical terrorism. You are putting someone's livelihood at risk. And to touch on what Derek was saying, man, I'm just like to say it is motherfuckers just too fucking soft nowadays. Like motherfuckers just too fucking weak. Like motherfuckers just too pussyfied. Like motherfuckers is just too fucking feminine. I mean, like especially like in the whole freedom community, like the whole new age, movement, like the motherfuckers are too fucking feminine. Yeah, I mean, like, and there's nothing wrong, with being feminine, but they've gone to the extreme that is imbalance. Like there's no strong, masculine aspect of them that will fight back. And I found it to be a fucking problem. That's not what enlightenment is, and they'll be the ones who are talking about balance and harmony. And yet you never really ever see them really express any true forms of righteous anger. And I see this in a lot of men, and it's sad because, us being men, how we should be leading by example, and, how we should be the ones who should have at least stood up to fight, at least, for what's going on. And you see motherfuckers nowadays who won't even, use their voice. We see all this shit that's being done to our kids, and you got parents, out there who won't even stand up and fight for their children. And I don't even have kids, and I see myself, like getting more pissed off about what's going on than the parents who have kids. And I'm like, this is the ultimate form of cognitive dissonance right here. You sitting there telling your child that you love them, and then the next fucking action that you do, you're taking them to McDonald's, or you putting them in front of that television, or you send them to the fucking public schools. That right there is fucking cognitive dissonance, because that's not a fucking form of love. It's like how Michael Tsarian said in one of his presentations. She's like, man, we live in a world that is ruled by fake love, because it's all this fake love. It's like people think because the holidays are coming around, they have to give you a fucking gift. If you wouldn't give me a gift throughout the whole fucking year, I don't want it now. It's like, get that fake shit out of here, man. Like motherfuckers are just too fucking weak. And then people in the freedom community don't want to call motherfuckers out on that shit. And that's the thing. That's the thing about being fucking right. If you are right in principle and you're right, it's okay to fucking call people out, because if we want to be right, moral people, then we have to learn to correct what is wrong, especially in kids, especially in behavior. And that's the problem, is weak ass motherfuckers have let wrong behavior go on for so fucking long that it's been tolerated to be the fucking standard. And now we are just accepting it. We've got to find our nuts. We've got to, we're all castrated damn near. Well, I shouldn't say the freedom community is castrated. We don't have any testicles. We don't have any balls. We don't have any fucking backbone. We're too fucking feminine, man. Because when I talk to people, and because, like, I love my firearms, man. But when I talk to people who have firearms, it's like, oh man, like I honestly thought that people would raise up here in the States, because I'm in the South, and I didn't see like none of that shit, man. I just saw motherfuckers just bending over, like just getting fucked, like grabbing the ankles. And I'm like, man, like how can we take this back if we aren't at least willing to use our voice? And that's the thing, man. Like, we've got to figure out what we stand for. We got to figure out what it means to be human. We've got to really sit down and engage with our own self and say, do we really want to be free? Because if we truly do, if things got fucking physical, would you be there to hell on that physical plane to get freedom, to make freedom happen? I know I would, even if that meant the cost of my own fucking life. And that's the thing, is people aren't willing to make that true sacrifice. People are still stuck in this physical ego attachment, to their job, to their role. They're not willing to give up. They haven't lost enough. They haven't sacrificed enough. And that's the thing. People haven't lost enough yet. People haven't suffered enough yet. People haven't hit that tipping point yet. But when they do, it may be too late. But, and that's what I said earlier, is some people are going to have to suffer more in order for them to find that drive, to find that willpower. And I want to see more people in the freedom community being more active as far from a masculine, standpoint. And fuck all this love and life shit, like we've tried that shit for years. That's gotten us nowhere. That's just going to get you fucked in the ass. So we've really got to find our backbone, man. And I know a lot of times I'm calm and shit, but I can raise my energy to match, hell fucking energy. Hell, I'm good at transmuting shit. So I know how to rile myself up, because I'm constantly going within myself. I know what excites me and I know what pisses me off, but sometimes we got to know how to raise our energy, and that's what motherfuckers ain't doing. They're just sitting back, clenching them butt cheeks, fucking grabbing them ankles, and just watching fucking Netflix, man.
Hey, it's NFL Sunday, man. They're pumped up on football Sunday, But man, Brennan,
what about the road?
Great example is Brendan Martin. I want to hear what you got to say because you haven't been on for a minute. But real quick, I just want to recenter on what you're getting at as far as pussyfooting around like certain subjects, and what Fred was getting at in regards to like arguments and like getting into healthy arguments, because that really resolves a lot of things, and that's a lot of issues with a lot of people that haven't resolved inner conflicts and inner arguments within themselves, because they're not comfortable having arguments with other people, because you see the knee-jerk reactions. Those who have done the shadow work can see the projections of other people that just flail out frivolously, and so I want to leave it to one of you guys who haven't spoken in a minute in regards to just like, how can we approach ways where everyone's going to benefit, everyone's going to walk away. And I've been able to do this even like working in restaurants and like dealing with simple shit, because that's like it's fucking light work for me. And no, I'm not a light worker or whatever, like but just alchemizing situations where people's patience are tested beyond what you're used to dealing with, as far as like you've done the work and you're comfortable with your stuff and this and that, but you're having simple communication with other people and they're just not trying to hear it at all. What would you suggest as far as taking a good approach, trying to tap into some way that can plant a seed into them to make them question what they think they believe, or convince them otherwise, you know what I mean, and not try to end things on such a fucking discord, because and that's the thing, like this is what television programming does. I mean, you see all this fucking bullshit, even though Barack Obama, I'm gonna say some shit and drop the mic and like what I said is gold and you can't touch that, and this and that, and people are fucking doing that. They're walking around thinking their shit smells like fucking roses, with their head up their fucking ass, which is why they're talking shit. So please, gentlemen, enlighten me, because I'm so delightfully eager to hear what you got to say.
I can bring up a couple points here, because I'm going to have to jump off of here in a moment. Well, the first thing I'd like to bring up is that I really liked what Brandon was saying there about bringing the masculine back in. It's about the two pillars of consciousness, about the two pillars of enlightenment, and getting on that middle path, or the lightning bolt path, right? So we do have to be energized and understand our own frequencies and understand how to raise our consciousness. Another thing is that I would rather have suffering fall upon me than progeny. And people who claim to love their children obviously don't understand this, that their own failures falls upon their children. It falls upon progeny. And if you want to reduce the amount of harm, if you're really about protection and really about freedom, and really freedom can only come, or protection can only come at the existence of freedom. You can't really keep anybody safe without the ability to be free to keep yourself safe. You have to be free to be able to keep something safe. That's just all there is to it. And the other thing is and my dog's ready to go out. That's why he's like, let's go, man, let's go. He's so funny. But the other thing is that, voting. You were talking about voting earlier, and I wanted to bring up something very important about voting. It doesn't matter even if the voting system is legitimate, okay? It doesn't matter, because the act of voting itself is immoral, because the idea of it is that you get to force your ideas, your beliefs, as long as you have more people backing you, onto other people, whether they support that system or not, okay? Yep. So you could be not consenting, not voluntarily participating in that system. And then if I get 51% of people on the dialectical side to come in, then I can force my beliefs arbitrarily upon your life. Okay. And it's usually based upon moral relativity. And we have to realize that in only specific situations can you force people to do rights. You can't force me to drink water. Okay. You're not allowed to. That's my right to do so. You know, it's not your right to force me to drink water. Okay. You can't force me to do what is right unless it has to do with the enslavement of other people. Okay. Or the violation of somebody else. Then you can prevent them through self-defense from doing a wrong. That's it. You know, you can't like go out and mind control people into doing what is right. We have to understand that, right? We can't use the dark manipulation tactics to do that. We have to be very cautious about that, because I see that a lot of people are willing to go that far to try to create a tyrannical system on mind control to make people do what is right. That's what government is ultimately trying to do in the first place, you know, but it's arbitrary rights, obviously.
I have a solution, man.
Oh, you got a solution? Bring it up.
I'm having a solution for you, for all the statists out there. You know what we need? We need to build you beautiful roads, and then can we talk after that about not having a government? You know, we're gonna fucking build you the most beautiful roads ever. You know, it's fucking crazy.
Because public funding couldn't do that ever. You know, shit. The only way is through government. Shit, you know, stick to the plan, man. Didn't you grow up in some conditioned society? What the hell?
Right. Well, we need non-internal duality or non-contradiction of emotions and thoughts, right? And that's what we were really talking about here, is cognitive dissonance, right? And so that's what we need, is internal non-duality. You know, we need to really merge and alchemically transmute or wed the heart and the mind, or you can even say all three of them, the gut, heart, and mind, right? Because they're all extremely important to this factor. And that's why I like what Brandon says. It's something I always hammer on. It all has to start from within. You know, if your inner self is divided, then you cannot change the external symptoms of anything, because the material world is just the effects of everything that's going on within our mind. The first Hermetic principle is mentalism, all is mind. Everything from that is the manifested reality. And that's how you can prove a transcendental argument as well, is by the physical results of those things. Okay, just like gravity, just like any law. And this is what I wanted to say earlier, was none of this stuff is so because we say it's so. The truth is not so because I deem it so. It's so because it is that which is, and then your perception can come into alignment with it. So don't think we're claiming that we're the arbiters of truth because we're saying it's objective. No, it's objective because it's that which is. And we just happen to align ourselves to it because we went through a trivium methodology or scientific learning methodology to discover these principles in nature and within ourselves. And we really, really need to get to that point. And also, one final statement, none of us have all the answers to this, you know? I'm not a nuclear technician. I'm not going to be able to solve that issue in an anarchist society. Okay. But there are people out there that do have the answers to some of these things. And that's what we need, more people that have those answers. So like you brought up the roads, right? Well, obviously you take out the third party and then there's no issue with the roads being built. It's such a ridiculous argument, because it's like, wait, you think people are just going to stop maintaining the roads to get to places because government is not in existence anymore? Like, really? You really think that nobody's going to go out and patch the roads and like do that service, even though you're not being coerced and stolen from to get that service done? Like, seriously, I would rather be able to voluntarily hire on somebody within the community to take care of my roads than have somebody else arbitrate how much goes to that, which most of it doesn't even go to that because our roads are shit, you know?
And that should go way faster than the fuck it is right now. And holy shit, like they just paved the roads in front of my parents' house where I'm living at right now in Northern Bay Area, you know, clusterfuck, neoliberal, techno, monopolistic, whatever the hell. It's like the most like shit slurry type of, you know, concrete thing you could just slather on, you know, put a fresh layer of fucking shit and it's all like crumbly and this and that, and it smells toxic as fuck, and this and that. And this is what our taxpayer money is paying for in a really rich area, whatever the fuck, you know, like, fuck that. Fuck what our taxpayer money is going for. We're supporting war. We're supporting fucking like GMO motherfucking Monsanto fucking bullshit, glyphosate, cancer causing shit. Chlorine, fluoride in the water that is fucking with our thyroid, that is on the same periodic table as bromide, which is also in a lot of bread and other shit, anti-inflammatory things, you know, like you have to break shit the fuck down. Break your own goddamn periodic table of elements within your fucking mind. Don't be such a blockhead. Realize things can be very fluid. Understand the yin and yang of things, the expansion and contraction, the fucking divine feminine and masculine. It's not all just like one thing all the time and this and that. Like, and yeah, you all brought up, you know, heart, mind, guts. How much do y'all understand of the importance of the connection to the gut brain connectivity? Because that shit stands for a lot, like up to 70% of, you know, what you're intaking in and what you're digesting and balancing within the fauna and flora of your inner body. You know, what kind of temple are you building up? What kind of, you know, prayers are you praying towards within the church, within the fucking, you know, physical body that you incarnated into? And what are you driving yourself towards in this life? Are you for the greater good? I'm in it for the fucking win-win. Are you guys? Because I know the folks that are listening to this right now on a beautiful Sunday night, wherever you guys are, whatever your plights, I really appreciate the comments and all that stuff. Thank you so much. But I know
Nate brought up a good comment that people think
Nate
that
was cracking, you know?
Yeah, he said roads are more important than freedom, right? And that's what I was trying to point out.
I did a thing recently too.
Oh yeah, we had a new episode out with Cubbyhole.
Man, I saw you guys post that on Facebook, man. Like,
yeah, it was really good.
Yeah,
it was really good. It was on green language, and it adds to. Nathan was talking about green language in the Cubbyhole previous to this episode, and then I did a presentation on green language. So we really brought it all together, and so ultimately, once you get through healing yourself to a certain degree, you start to work on your subconsciousness. You start to reprogram all these programs in your subconscious level. You do your shadow work. You understand the importance of the ego, and you understand the dangers of the ego as well, and you get it in alignment. Then you can start working on the higher stuff, which is really fun, which is the mystery traditions. And you start to get into Hermeticism, the occult, esotericism, tarot, Kabbalah, all kinds of stuff, right? Alchemy, you talking a lot of alchemical terms, which I respect. So, you can really start to develop yourself with these things once you get your own psychology in order, to a certain degree. You don't have to be perfect. This is not about being perfect, just get a foundation built. Just get a foundation built and understand that you're going to fall, you're going to wave, you're going to fall back into old programs every once in a while, but you pull yourself back up. You pull yourself out of that. And with that being said, I got to attend to my dogs, guys. So I'm going to peace out.
Anyway, we're going to hand it on that. It's almost 2 hours in it.
Right.
It was fucking awesome. Thank you guys for partaking in this awesome conversation we had. I think we're going into a good direction. I mean, we're building something new. I think it never been done before this way. Not but that I know. I wanted to bring you guys together, and there's gonna be next time. By the way, it's gonna be on Friday at 9 p.m.
Cool.
The next one, and I'm having Douglas Martin on Wednesday about the origins.
Oh man, that's gonna be sweet.
Of traditions, occult traditions. So tune up on this day. It's gonna be fucking awesome.
Oh yeah.
And
thank you everyone
Oh, sorry.
who have listened to it, and thank you again, you guys. Thank you for the I'm always looking at the comments if there's question. Thank you guys for having commented, and there's a bunch of you who have been there since the beginning of the podcast. So thank you very much, guys. And then we're gonna see you on Wednesday, 9 p.m. with Douglas. It's gonna be called Origins. So take care.
That'd be sweet.
Have a good night, everyone. Bye.